How's it going, Bespoke community? I am Dr. Jeremy Schumacher, physical therapist here at Bespoke Treatments in San Diego. And this is the 4-part series to improve your squat, especially if you have hip discomfort while you're squatting. So in this second part of the series, we're going to be going over a little bit more mobility of our hips and our ankles. Okay, in part 1, we worked on using a foam roll and a lacrosse ball to improve blood flow to those target tissues, so that way they can work a little bit better during our squat. Now that that blood flow is increased, we want to start improving the range of motion of our hips and our ankles, so that way when we're squatting, our muscles have a better ability to load and to take away the stress from our hips and our low back joint. So for this, all we need is an open space. I have a yoga mat on the ground, and we're going to get down on the ground and start mobilizing those hips. For this first movement, we want to start getting our hips mobilized. We want our hips to be able to move freely, so that way when we squat, we're giving our body a good chance to get in proper positioning. So for this exercise, we're going to start on our bottom with both hands on the ground behind us and our feet a little bit wider than shoulder width apart and our toes up. From here, we're going to keep both hands on the ground, and we're going to slowly let our feet drop to one side and then dropping to the other side. So with this, everyone's range of motion is a little bit different, so I don't want you to force those knees down. I want you to just ease your way each way, and the goal is after you do this consistently, you'll start to develop a little bit more joint mobility, which will allow you to go a little bit further in the stretch. So once you perform 10 switches each way, you're then going to rotate your upper body. So the lower body will stay the same, and then you're going to rotate your hand to the other side, and then same thing as you rotate the other way. Other hand's going to rotate, place on top. This is going to target different areas of our hip to make sure they're getting the maximum amount of mobility we need for our squat. Once again, with the hand rotations, we're going to perform 10 repetitions before moving on to the next exercise. So now that we got our hips moving, we want to get our ankles moving. When we go to the bottom of a squat, it really demands a lot of range of motion through the front of our ankles. So we want to make sure they're moving well so our muscles can fire properly. So for this, we're going to do a standing dynamic calf stretch. So it'll look similar to a lunge, but the only difference is we want to keep our back heel on the ground at all times. So to perform this movement, we're going to start with our hands on our hips, both heels down. You're going to step forward with one foot, lunge forward, keeping that back heel down on the ground, and then stepping back. You should feel that stretch pulling through the back of your calf of the foot that's behind you. So once again, keeping that heel down, we're going to step forward, lean forward, and then stepping back. And each time you can go a little bit deeper to feel a little bit more stretch through that back of that ankle. We're going to do 10 repetitions on each side before switching and moving on to the next. All right, guys, so for part 2 of the hip mobility series for your squat, we focused on improving a little bit of joint range of motion and mobility using a calf stretch and using a hip mobility exercise. This should be completed after what we did in our part 1 of the series, where we used the lacrosse ball on the bottom of our feet and a foam roller for our quads. That's going to ensure we have proper blood flow to the target tissues, and then now we're improving the joint range of motion to allow us to squat into a little bit better position. So try those out next time you're squatting, and make sure to tune in next time to see part 3 of the series on how to improve your squat.